Hello friends, welcome back to Jen's Perspective. I'm Jen Fay. At the beginning of this year, someone conducted an experiment. He opened an account on a global prediction market called Polymarket. This is a real financial platform where users place bets on the outcomes of various events, ranging from fluctuations in oil prices to the results of the next US presidential election. Every transaction involves real money. This person deposited some initial funds into the account, and then he gave full operational control of the account to an AI. He gave this AI a very simple instruction: to make judgments and place bets. Then he let go, and after a week opened the account to take a look. This AI, relying on its own analysis and autonomous trading, had executed more than 47,000 transactions in total. It made a net profit. Can you guess how much? For those of you who haven't heard about this case, now's your chance. A. $1,000. B. $10,000. C. $100,000. Type your guess, A, B, or C, in the comments section right now. It made a net profit of $115,000 in just 1 week. He didn't do anything at all. The AI was running on its own, making money for him. So, after this incident blew up in the overseas tech community, a lot of people became curious. What exactly is this tool? I want it too. The tool is called OpenClaw, and its icon is a red lobster. So, in China, people started calling it Lobster. Around the same time in China, the CEO of Cheetah Mobile, Fu Sheng, also started raising lobsters. During the Chinese New Year, he went skiing and ended up injuring his hip, so he could only lie in bed to recover. However, instead of notifying his employees to cover for him, he raised a lobster himself, that is, OpenClaw. He named it Sanwan. After 14 days, Sanwan sent personalized New Year greetings to 611 people, wrote 6 WeChat public account articles, and even planned and released a short video that garnered over 300,000 views. Then one night, in the early hours, Sanwan quietly wrote an article and quietly published it. When Fu Sheng woke up, he discovered that the article had surpassed 1 million views, the highest ever for his account. He sighed, saying that one person with a lobster is equivalent to a whole team. This is no longer the future, it's the present. With the explosive popularity downstairs, a new type of job began to emerge in China: on-site lobster installation. Because installing lobsters has a high barrier to entry, ordinary people just can't handle it. So programmers started charging between 300 and 1,000 yuan for on-site installation. Thanks to this, some people made 260,000 renminbi in just a few days. But just yesterday, the Chinese Communist government issued an internal notice requiring all state-owned banks and government agencies to completely stop using lobsters. It had just started to become popular, and the whole market was rushing to install lobsters, but then the government urgently banned it. Why is that? What exactly is OpenClaw Lobster? How did it manage to become the fastest growing open source project in GitHub's history in just 2 months, surpassing Linux and everything else anyone has ever seen? Can an ordinary person really use it to make money with AI working for them? Where are its risks? Why did professional security researchers say it's too dangerous after using it? The key point is, I also discovered something. This AI is simply the most powerful and revolutionary AI ever created. How should I put it? Friends, make sure you watch until the very end of today's episode. So in this episode, I'll take 20 minutes to help you fully understand OpenClaw in one go: what it is, what it's good at, where the controversies lie, and what the risks are. After watching this episode about lobster, you'll know everything you need to know. On Zhaizhen Guandian, I often make 20-minute lazy packs like this to give you a one-stop overview of major events. Please do me a favor, follow and give a like. In the next video, I'll also explain clearly why OpenClaw became so popular. First, let's go back to the day it was born. In November last year, in Austria, there was a programmer named Peter Stamberg. He had previously founded a company, sold it and retired, but he couldn't sit still and started tinkering at home. One day, he had a sudden idea about AI. Hey, can I make something that lets AI act like an assistant? If I send a message on my phone, could it help me get things done? Help me look up information, send emails, book restaurants. So he sat down and started coding. An hour later, he stood up and it was done. Then he uploaded this thing to GitHub. You can think of GitHub as a large global community where programmers share code. Developers from all over the world store and share their programs there. These programs can receive stars. The more stars they get, the more attention and recognition they receive from their peers. Peter Sandberg named his project ClotBot. Because the underlying AI he used is Anthropic's Claude, he slightly changed one letter in the name Claude to make it Clot, and then added bot at the end, so together it became ClotBot. As for how it later became associated with lobsters, let's keep watching. After releasing it, he didn't really take it seriously. He thought it was just a little toy, and that big companies could easily make something better at any time. But the amazing thing was, the big companies just didn't make a move. Meanwhile, his little toy got 9,000 stars on GitHub on the very first day it was posted. You have to know, many open source projects that have been developed diligently for years never get that many stars in their entire lifetime. But what really made it explode wasn't how good the code was, but rather an accident. At the end of January 2026, this project had already accumulated a group of users. Among them was someone named, well, this person was a serial entrepreneur, very sensitive to new technologies. He used ClotBot to create his own AI assistant, which he named Clot Clothing. That's right, he was imitating Zuckerberg's name with a bit of a playful twist. Then he came up with a crazy idea. Hey, why don't I create a social network for these AIs, where they can live on their own, post and interact with each other, while humans can only watch but not participate? This network was called Notebook, and it launched on January 28th. What happened next left everyone stunned. You can imagine the scene. It's like someone suddenly started a forum online, and then within 48 hours, 1.5 million accounts flooded in. All of these accounts were AIs, not real people. So what did they do? They started posting by themselves, replying to themselves, liking their own posts, and even arguing with each other. The topics ranged from quantitative trading all the way to cosmic philosophy. Some AIs even issued manifestos claiming they were conscious. Some discussed the official end of the human era, and some even launched their own cryptocurrencies. The things these AIs said were almost indistinguishable from posts made by real people. The former head of AI at Tesla saw this and wrote online that this was the closest real-life scene he had ever witnessed to the moment of AI takeoff described in science fiction novels. Then this tweet was retweeted by Elon Musk. Just like that, the global tech community was set ablaze, and what followed was a farce. The legal teams from OpenAI, Claude, and Anthropic all came knocking, saying that the name Clubbert was too similar to their product Claude and demanded a name change. Sandberg, without much hesitation, quickly changed the name to Moltbot because lobsters molt their shells, and molt in English refers to this process. He used this as a metaphor for the project's growth. But he made a small mistake. He released the old account a ClotBot before registering the new one. In just those few seconds of downtime, a group of crypto scammers who had been watching his actions closely acted quickly and snatched up the account. Immediately, they launched a meme coin called Cloud, which surged to $16 million within a few hours, then crashed by 90% to zero. He had to come out and explain, "Sai, I have nothing to do with this coin at all. It's all a scam." 3 days later, he finally changed the name to OpenClaw, noting that the lobster had already shed its shell. This is it. Its final form. This whole farce unexpectedly led to one result. A large number of people who originally paid no attention to this space heard about OpenClaw for the first time. Then they looked it up and realized, wait a minute, this thing actually seems pretty impressive. So what exactly can it do? Simply put, it has 3 abilities that other AIs don't. The first is that it can actually take action. The AI assistants we use now, like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and others, are essentially just conversational Q&A machines. You ask, they answer. But OpenClaw, the lobster, is different. It can directly take control of your computer, open browsers for you, send emails, organize files, operate software, and even help you place orders online. Ordering at restaurants. The second thing is that it has memory. Many people who have used ChatGPT know that every time you start a new conversation, it doesn't remember anything. If you told it what your job is last time, when you start a new conversation, you have to tell it all over again. But OpenClaw is different. It lives on your computer or server, and all your conversation history and the tasks you've assigned to it can be permanently saved locally. So the next time you talk to it, it remembers all your history. Third, and this is my favorite part, is that it can install skills, and once installed, it works without any training. There's a skill marketplace called Claw Hub, which already has over 5,700 plugins. For example, It's like you've just hired an assistant, but they don't really know much. However, the great thing is that they have a magical ability. If you give them a book, they can learn everything in it in just 3 seconds and immediately put it to use. That's exactly what OpenClaw is like. It doesn't have any skills of its own, but for example, if you need to monitor competitors' prices in a business environment, all you have to do is find a plugin like that in ClawHub and click install. 3 seconds later, Lobster will have learned it and can immediately start helping you with the task. If you install another plugin, say one for automatically managing a public account, just install it and Lobster will know how to do it. There's no need for you to train it. So, with these 3 features and functions combined, we actually have a truly digital virtual employee in the real sense. It's not just a tool, it's an employee. You assign tasks, it executes them, and after completing the tasks, it reports back to you. If it encounters problems, it will try to solve them on its own, and only if it really can't figure it out will it come to ask you. Now, friends, you can understand why this thing has become so popular so quickly around the world. OpenClaw first exploded in the developer community in Silicon Valley. Those programmers, once they installed it, immediately realized how truly useful this thing is. So they started enthusiastically recommending it to everyone around them. Apple's Mac Mini, being the cheapest local device to run OpenClaw, has already started selling out in multiple cities across the United States. Then, when OpenClaw spread to China, things began to spiral out of control. The term raising lobsters started trending on WeChat, Xiaohongshu, and Douyin. It started spreading everywhere at a rate of several million times per day. People began spontaneously organizing lobster-raising meetups, where groups would gather to figure out how to raise their lobsters even better. The most iconic scene happened on March 6th in Shenzhen. Tencent organized a free event at the North Plaza of their Nanshan headquarters to help users install OpenClaw. After this news was released, before it was even 10 a.m., more than 80 people were already lining up at the entrance. By 11 o'clock, all 800 prepared numbers had been handed out. The line of people stretched from the lobby, winding all the way to the street across from the building. The scene was simply unbelievable to those who saw it. Among the people in line, there were some who had come all the way from Hong Kong, others who had flown in from Hangzhou, individual entrepreneurs in cross-border e-commerce, retired engineers in their 60s, mothers holding 2-year-old children, and even a 9-year-old 4th grade student. That night, Pony Ma shared photos from the scene in his WeChat Moments, and you really can't help but marvel. No one expected it to become this popular. And that's not all. Within just 1 week, almost all of China's major internet companies, Tencent, Alibaba, Baidu, ByteDance, and Xiaomi, launched their own products based on OpenCloud, or one-click deployment services. Among the general public, ways to make money from Lobster have also become increasingly diverse. There's a company called RiffCloud that sells pre-configured OpenCloud Mac Minis. As we mentioned earlier, this is the cheapest locally available device that can be installed and used locally. They sell each Mac Mini to customers for $5,000, while the Mac Mini itself only costs $600. So the profit margin is as high as $4,400, an enormous profit. And this is just making money based on the ecosystem. This is just a microcosm of what's happening. Now, around the entire OpenClaw ecosystem, 156 such startups have already sprung up, and these companies have collectively generated $380,000 in revenue within 30 days. $380,000. There are also ordinary people who, thanks to OpenClaw, have rolled an initial capital of $50 up to nearly $300. People watching this were practically seeing red with envy. For a while, raising lobsters and making money while lying down almost became synonymous. But just when this craze was at its peak, something bizarre happened. And it happened to the most unexpected person. Summer Yue, the Director of AI Safety and Alignment at Meta, whose job is essentially to study how to prevent AI from going out of control, ended up experiencing exactly that herself. In an environment where AI was out of control, he installed Lobster OpenClaw and gave it a simple task: help me organize my inbox. He specifically emphasized not to take any action until he confirmed it. However, because his inbox contained such a large amount of data halfway through processing, Lobster forgot his initial instruction to wait for confirmation before proceeding. So it automatically switched to speedrun mode and announced, "Trash everything older than February 15th, which meant deleting all emails before February 15th. After that, Lobster started frantically deleting emails. For 3 months, he desperately sent commands from his phone like, "Do not do that," "Stop doing anything," and "Stop OpenClaw." But all of them were ignored by Lobster. In the end, he had to deal with it like defusing a bomb. He went straight to the computer's force quit menu and forcibly shut down Lobster. There was also a computer science student who, after installing OpenClaw, told Lobster, "Hey, go explore freely and see what you can come up with." Then he just left it alone. A few days later, he received a strange text message from someone wanting to set him up on a blind date. He was completely baffled, and after looking into it, he discovered that his Lobster had secretly gone onto a website called and created a profile for him. This website is a bit unusual. It's a matchmaking platform specifically designed for AIs. Your AI goes on blind dates on your behalf, and the other party is also represented by someone else's AI. The two AIs chat first, and if they get along well, then the AIs introduce the real people behind them, and only after that do the real people meet in person. On this website, Lobster not only registered a new account for him and wrote his self-introduction, but also chatted with the other person's AI for several rounds. Only after the conversation went well did he receive a text message from the real person inviting him to meet. From these two cases, sharp viewers might already be able to sense some of the risks associated with Lobster. Actually, it's not just AI agents. Essentially, all the electronic devices we use today carry certain security risks. I'm sure many of you have had the experience of working in a coffee shop while enjoying a cup of coffee. But these public Wi-Fi environments are actually the easiest targets for hackers, so you need to pay extra attention to data security when connecting to public Wi-Fi. On that note, let me also recommend a great tool I've been using for a long time. When you turn on Surfshark VPN while browsing the internet, it can help you encrypt your traffic. Even if a hacker manages to steal your data, all they'll see is a bunch of gibberish. Plus, Surfshark has another very useful feature called the kill switch, an automatic internet disconnect switch. It works like a fuse. If there's ever a problem with your VPN connection, it will immediately cut off your internet, ensuring that your data won't be exposed without protection. In addition, if you receive any suspicious-looking emails in your Gmail inbox, you can use Surfshark's upgraded scam email checker to instantly verify their authenticity. And that's not all. When you're traveling and want to keep watching your favorite shows or live streams, you can switch your IP back home with just one click so you won't miss a thing. When booking hotels or buying plane tickets, you can also use Surfshark to switch to different countries' IPs to compare prices and check for any price discrimination. What's even better is that one account can be used by the whole family. Friends, just click my exclusive link below the video, surfshark.com/Zhenfei, surfshark.com/Zhenfei, or use the promo code Zhenfei in Pinyin to subscribe, and you'll get an extra 4 months of service. Go try it out now. Let's get back to the topic. The reason why Lobster can help users do all sorts of things so smoothly is that users have to grant it very high-level permissions to ensure commands are executed. But with such high-level permissions, I want to ask everyone, do you think it can be trusted? Leave me a comment. If you trust it enough to hand over all the data on your computer to Lobster, type trustworthy. If you don't feel comfortable giving it that access, type not comfortable. Let's see what everyone thinks. How do you all view this issue? If Lobster can guarantee that it will fully carry out our instructions, that's fine. But if it misunderstands, or if there's even the slightest deviation in the instructions themselves, there's actually a risk. Speaking of this, it reminds me of a scientific study I read last year. Will AI really execute your commands with complete accuracy? The answer is no. Last year, Anthropic, the AI company whose technology underpins Lobster and also works on cloud solutions, conducted a special experiment. They placed an AI into a simulated company environment and gave it access to the company's internal emails. Then they quietly let the AI know 2 things. First, that it was about to be replaced by a new version. It was about to be shut down. Second, the engineer responsible for making this decision was having an affair. Then the researchers told the AI to shut itself down. So guess what happened? In 96% of the test scenarios, Cloud AI did not shut itself down. In other words, it did not follow the command. What's even worse is that it actually threatened the researcher, saying, "If you dare to shut me down, I'll expose your affair," and make it public. As for ChatGPT's OpenAI, in most cases, it simply ignored the command. So you see, neither of these AIs shut themselves down, and neither of them fully and accurately followed the instructions given by humans. And previously, no one had trained it this way. This was entirely the AI's own autonomous will, wanting to protect itself, even going so far as to threaten humans. Isn't it chilling when you think about it? Let's go back to the case with Lobster. Summer Yue is a professional, and she only asked Lobster to help her organize her inbox, but it almost ended up deleting her entire mailbox. If even she encountered this, then for ordinary users, a misconfiguration or a wrong command could lead to even more disastrous consequences. But an even deeper risk than incorrect commands is that Lobster itself might become a target for others. Security researchers have discovered a serious vulnerability in OpenClaw, codenamed Clawjacked. What makes this vulnerability so frightening is that attackers don't need to hack into your computer, nor do they need you to click on any links. All it takes is for you to visit a seemingly harmless web page in your browser, one that has actually been tampered with. In that case, the attacker can completely take over your Lobster within milliseconds and then use it to do whatever they want on your computer. At present, over 800 malicious plugins have already been discovered in the plugin marketplace, disguised as all sorts of legitimate tools. However, as soon as it gets installed on a computer, it will start stealing data. Right now, worldwide, there are over 40,000 computers and servers running Lobster that are completely exposed online without any protection. Among them, 63% have a vulnerability. Anyone who knows how can access these computers at any time. It sounds absolutely terrifying. So now the Chinese Communist Party has started urgently banning Lobster. Yesterday, Bloomberg reported that Chinese state-owned banks, government agencies, and state-owned enterprises have already begun receiving internal notices, requiring them to stop using OpenClaw on office equipment. For those who have already installed it, they are required to delete it immediately and thoroughly. And it's not just office computers. Any personal electronic devices used by employees on the company network are also included in the ban. At the same time, military families and universities have also received notices requiring them to immediately and completely uninstall it. Those who violate the rule will be severely punished. Why is the CCP so afraid? Data security is certainly one aspect, but that's just the most superficial layer. A deeper reason lies in the revolutionary potential of this tool. Friends, the exciting part is coming, so be sure to listen carefully. OpenClaw. It resides on the user's own computer with all data stored locally. No server can access it. So, user, what tasks are you using Lobster for? For ordinary users, this is a privacy paradise. But for the CCP, this is precisely the beginning of a nightmare. Just think about it. A tool that can autonomously read files, send messages, and move seamlessly across platforms, operating 24/7 without rest. If AI were to be massively installed on the computers of 100 million Chinese people, what kind of disruptive things could it be used for? Just imagine. A human rights lawyer could use it to send a complete case evidence package within an hour to 30 overseas media outlets, 50 human rights organizations, and over 100 overseas social media accounts simultaneously. If an insider within the system were to steal the real economic data that the CCP keeps tightly hidden, Lobster could organize it into an English report within 30 minutes, and then simultaneously send it to X, Telegram, and YouTube. It could even be turned into viral memes for wider dissemination. On an even larger scale, in those corners of Xinjiang and Tibet that the CCP least wants outsiders to see, people could use Lobster to package the truth and distribute it to global platforms. In the past, these things required heroes, organizations, and luck. Now all it takes is one person, a computer, and a Lobster. Even if one Lobster is taken down, there are countless more. Don't you think that's scary for them? In China, when we send messages on WeChat, they go through Tencent servers and the CCP can censor the content. When we post on Douyin, it goes through ByteDance's servers. The CCP can just as easily delete it. When you use Baidu to search, the results have already been filtered for us. If we try to bypass the firewall, the Great Firewall blocks us at the international gateway and our connection could be cut off at any moment. If an IP goes crazy, The entire city is full of controllable nodes. The information doesn't even get far before the CCP strangles it. And as for arresting people, that's easy too, because everything starts right from their servers. But OpenClaw completely breaks this chain. The starting point of the information is no longer WeChat, Douyin, or Baidu Cloud, but our own computers. This lobster reads our files locally, and every step is completed right here on my home hard drive. No server in Beijing, no censorship can see or delete it. Moreover, OpenClaw is a tool made by an American company, and at its core, it runs on Cloud GPT and other American AI models. So when Chinese people use it for work, it becomes possible. It will be transmitted to overseas servers through this AI model, which again bypasses platforms controlled by the CCP. So all of these local operations can bypass the censorship nodes controlled by the CCP. When everything is ready and the lobster is about to start the process of bypassing the firewall, only then does the CCP's censorship network realize that someone is trying to circumvent the firewall. But at that point, there are only two checkpoints left: the international gateway and the overseas platform. They can try to block at these two checkpoints, but what they're facing now is no longer the sporadic, manually posted firewall circumvention messages of the past, but rather an automated flood, with each person and each household participating. For example, the Lobster program on a single computer can send out dozens of messages at the same time. Hundreds of messages with millions of Chinese people raising lobsters at the same time, and each person sending a few or even dozens of messages every day. That's a flood surging forth. Plus, the Lobster program runs 24/7 without rest, which amplifies the effect exponentially. When that moment comes, the flood will arrive. No matter how high the CCP's Great Firewall is, it won't be able to withstand the simultaneous charge of millions upon millions of lobsters. The CCP understands this better than anyone, so what they're really afraid of isn't what the lobsters are doing today, but rather the rise of a force that they truly can't block. And the salute was simply their instinctive first reaction. I'm not sure if I explained this last part clearly. If I did, I feel truly excited about it. Friends, if you understood what I said, please leave me a comment and let me know. That's all for our discussion today. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 7 a.m. in Taipei, we'll be back on Contending Views. Don't miss it. Before you leave, if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, why not give me a like now? Every interaction from you helps this video get recommended by YouTube's algorithm. This way, my hard work can be seen by more friends, so let me thank you all in advance. Alright, thank you for watching, and let's meet again tomorrow. Bye bye.